Good evening. The time is 5:30. We'll call the November 29th meeting of the Millcreek Township Board of Supervisors to order. Would you please rise to the pledge of the flag? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We do need to make an amendment to the agenda. Attorney Shaw?
Yes, thank you. Before we get started, I do have one agenda item to be added in accordance with 712E of the Right to Know law. And under that section, upon a majority vote of the individuals present and voting during the conduct of a meeting, the agency may add a matter of agency business to the agenda. The reasons for the change to the agenda shall be announced at the meeting before any vote is conducted to make the changes to the agenda. The agenda may subsequently the agency may subsequently take official action on the matter that is added to the agenda. The agency shall post the amended agenda on the agency's publicly accessible internet website if available, and at the agency's principal office no later than the first business day following the meeting at which the agenda was changed. The added agenda item consists of a request to approve a settlement of a tax assessment appeal relating to the Penelec property at 5404 Evans Road. We received the proposed settlement a week or so ago, but only recently received today an order from the court indicating that the court wanted a response to the settlement proposal by December 16th. We do not have another meeting until December 20th, so that would be the basis and the reason for adding that to the agenda. I would recommend that the item be added to the agenda as I think it would be new item number 12.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve this agenda amendment?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda amendment.
I'll second.
Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
Vote yes.
Mrs. Clear?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Item 3 is public comment on agenda items other than development or rezoning applications. Hearing none, we'll go on to approval of the minutes from the November 15th meeting. Any comments or questions from the board on those minutes? Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
Okay. Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
Vote yes.
Mrs. Clear?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next item is approval of the bills. Any comments or questions from the board?
Make a motion to approve the bills.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
Vote yes.
Mrs. Clear?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next item is a presentation of the preliminary budget for 2023. Mark?
Thank you. Feels like we just did this.
We did.
All right, time to talk about the 23 budget. We'll start with the general fund, which is the biggest portion of the budget. This is where all the operating expenses for the township are paid from. The general fund budget, we generate most of our revenue from real estate taxes, and the second biggest category is earned income tax. The other categories are all relatively smaller. The grants, the biggest portion in there is state aid to pensions. It's about $1 million. And then the other parts are just smaller pieces therefrom. We have also some grants next year for, the other taxes are another area where we generate a fair bit of revenue. That's real estate transfer tax and local services tax, and there's two other smaller taxes. One has to do with real estate contributions for property taxes handled by the PUC, and then there's also some small games of chance and minor things like that. The total revenue for the general fund is $28,493,965. The general fund expenses, the biggest chunk of the general fund goes towards public safety salaries. And after that, it's streets, wages, and then we've got the other portions, we've got admin, we've got planning, and they keep getting smaller from there on down. Total expenses in the general fund are $29,083,644. As you can see, we've got expenses greater than revenue. The expenses, that shortfall will be funded through from the fund balance of the general fund. When you look at the spreadsheet, you'll see an option, an operating surplus of $887,802. That's because there's a proposal in there for a fire tax to fund 8 full-time firefighters. It's a 0.4 mil fire tax, which means that it'll cost $40 per $100,000 house to fund these full-time firefighters. We'll get to the fire tax later because there's more details on that. The sewer fund has total revenue of $10,261,400. The rate for next year will be $86.50. That is a $2.50 per quarter increase. The reason for that is you can see the capital spending at $4,269,300. There's 2 force main projects that are scheduled to be done next year. Actually, the one is getting started around now. That's the Wolf Run force main project, which is going underneath the railroad tracks. The other one is the Kearsarge force main, which may go under the highway. That's still in design. But that's the reason why we have to have an increase. We're going to end up borrowing money through a bond issue to pay for some of the capital purchases for the sewer department next year. Operating expenses for the sewer fund are $8,475,683, and administrative expenses are $553,702. The sinking fund, I've got the debt service listed there for the various years. Anticipating $2,652,000 in new debt, and that is one to, in the capital budget, there's a proposal for a community center, which would be funded through a mortgage, which would be the biggest chunk of the new debt. And then there's another jetter truck, or camera truck for the sewer department that would be through a loan. It's about a $400,000 item. Liquid fuels, this is money we get from the state for from the gas tax. That's been set at $1,641,386, and then we get county aid. We're estimating that to be about $60,000. We use the county aid money exclusively for road salt. The remainder of the road salt budget's in the general fund budget. We have a paving budget of $3,691,552, and if you add the liquid fuels plus interest, which is on the detailed spreadsheets, with the $2 million, you'll get at the paving book number for next year. That's down from this year where we did $6.8 million thanks to the ARPA monies. The capital fund is aggressive. We've got $10 million, almost $11 million in planning capital. We've got $4,065 in parks and recreation, and then $3.330 million in public works. So $2 million of which is the paving. There's a detail in the budget package that's going to be available at the police department and in the lobby. There are detailed schedules that lay out what each of the individual projects are. The fire tax fund. The fire tax is a special tax that could be, there's a limit on the amount it can be, and it can only be used for firefighter wages and or equipment. I know half of the fund can be for wages, the other half can be for equipment. We're proposing a 0.4 mils assessed value to be added to the property tax bill for 2023. Like I said, that'll be $40 per $100,000 home additional tax for next year, but that's to fight, solely to fund the fire department. And we got a new fund next year, the trash collection fund. Trash bills will be included on the water and sewer bill in 2023, probably starting with the April bill. The result is a change of the service provider, Waste Management, but all of them weren't always getting all their money because some of our residents refused to pay their bill. This is a way to make it easier for us to lien properties for people that don't pay, and hopefully our collection rates are better. The rates for next year are those that are announced. For the first quarter, that means for the January through March timeframe will be $87 once again, and the following 3 quarters will be $93.09 per quarter. The per bag program has its own individual changes. Questions?
So you're going to increase taxes a lot, but not call them taxes.
Well, they are actually taxes. I mean, the sewer increase is actually a fee. Everybody pays that. But because there's an attendant fee for businesses that aren't a metered service, they get a ratable increase. But everybody pays that. Schools, churches, it's not like property taxes. So it'd be nice if the fire tax could be a fee too, so everybody can share the burden. But that's not the way the law is set up.
Or other people that are notorious for not supporting the fire department, like you say, Millcreek Mall, when they get the tax.
Yes. It goes as part of your property tax bill.
They have to pay, here's our fire department dime.
Yeah, that's a fundamental problem. A lot of the companies, the bigger retailers don't contribute to the fire departments. They're hurting for money, plus they can't find volunteers. And so we, the township, are still responsible for providing fire service. And the only way to do that is to have actual paid people in order to make it happen. Anything further?
No, thank you, Mark.
Okay.
Thanks, Mark.
Doing this now? Yeah. Okay. With regard to the budget for the 2023 calendar year, I move that the minutes of this meeting include the following. For approximately the last 60 days and under the direction of the Board of Supervisors, work has been undertaken to prepare a proposed budget for the 2023 calendar year. A draft of the proposed and preliminary budget has now been prepared and is ready and available for public inspection. Public notice of the preparation and availability for inspection of the preliminary 2023 budget has been advertised in the November 29, 2022 issue of the Erie Times News. The preliminary and proposed budget shall be available for public inspections for the next 22 days in the front lobby of the Millcreek Township Municipal Building from 8 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday, and at the Millcreek Township Police Department on weekends and holidays from November 29th until December 20th, and it'll also be on the township website. At the regular meeting of the Board of Supervisors beginning at 5:30 p.m. on Tuesday, December 20th of this year, and after making such revisions as is deemed necessary, the Board of Supervisors intends to adopt a budget for the 2023 calendar year. Is there a second to this motion?
I'll second the motion for the budget.
Okay. Any comments or questions?
No, sir.
Okay. Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mrs. Cook?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Moving on to bids and quotations, the first one is the CDBG consultant for planning and development. Mr. Waldinger.
Thank you. Good evening. As a community development block grant entitlement community, Millcreek is required to provide a 5-year consolidated plan to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Our current plan ends this year, so there is a need to prepare a new plan for the 2023 through 2027 time range. Erie County Department of Planning and Community Development, who administers our CDBG program, advertised for proposals from firms to prepare the plan. At the submission deadline, we received only one proposal from Mullen and Lonergan Associates from Pittsburgh, PA, also known as M&L. M&L has prepared our current 5-year plan. They are well acquainted with the township and have the staff, knowledge, and experience to complete the scope of work. I recommend that the board accept M&L's proposal to complete the plan for the stated cost not to exceed $17,865. Those funds will be paid from the township's fiscal year 2021 Community Development Block Grant. No township general funds will be used for this.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions from the board?
I'll make a motion to approve M&L.
I'll second.
Okay. Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
Vote yes.
Mrs. Clear?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next item under bids and quotations is a guide rail on Arbuckle Road. Mr. Donikowski?
Oh, actually, Mr. Chairman, I'll take that.
Oh, okay.
Anyway.
Thank you.
I just have the information for it. Give me 1 second. We are seeking approval to have guide rail improved and installed along Arbuckle Road in the vicinity of a pipe culvert, which is located just east of Footmill Road. The nearest properties to this area are 712, 723, and 800 Arbuckle Road. We contacted 3 firms, Green Acres Contracting Incorporated, Penline Enterprises, and Pittsburgh Fence for pricing. The township received 2 quotes in response to our request. Green Acres quoted a price of $14,425. Penline quoted a price of $16,873.75. It would be my recommendation to award the bid to Green Acres Contracting to remove the existing guide rail and install improved guide rail for the price of $14,425. These funds will be taken from the Planning and Development Contingency line item, leaving a balance of $60,000.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions from the board?
I'll make a motion to approve Green Acres Contracting for the guide rail.
I'll second that.
And Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
Vote yes.
Mrs. Clear?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Moving on to land development plans. First item would be Deemer Rentals Land Development Plan to show the construction of a 2,090 square foot office building and a 1,400 square foot garage with associated parking and stormwater management facilities along the south line of West 38th Street, east of Pacific Avenue and Track 76, Index 363-008. Matt.
Thank you. At the regular meeting of Tuesday, November 1st, 2022, the Millcreek Township Planning Commission recommended approval of this land development plan.
Okay. Is there someone here from Deemer Rentals? Okay. Would you state your name and address for the record, and we'll go ahead and open up the hearing.
Jim Walka, 3200 West 32nd Street. I represent Deemer Rentals in the development of this office building and parking. You've seen the plan. It was also recommended for approval by Erie County Planning, and I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Your stormwater facilities, are they underground?
Yes, they are.
Okay. Now, the back portion where the garage is, that's going to be, there won't be any pass-through from the plaza parking in through that?
No, that is correct. No pass-through.
Okay.
It's just an office building, low traffic generator. People come work at the office and then leave and go home.
Great, okay.
That was my question. So it's pretty much a Monday through Friday business hour kind of
Yes,
building that's going in?
correct.
Okay.
Okay, I don't have any other questions. Great, thank you, Mr. Welker.
Thank you.
Anyone in the audience wishing to speak on the Deemer rental property? If you could state your name and address for the record, thank you.
I'm Donna Petnato. I live at 3725 Pacific Avenue, and we have a very big concern about the traffic at that corner, at that intersection. Since they've built more office buildings there, with the school, with the church, I have seen a lot of accidents at that intersection. We attended the zoning meeting, which was maybe a couple weeks ago, and we suggested a traffic study, and I didn't know if that was something that you looked into, maybe?
Maybe Matt can, yeah.
Yes, we did speak with the traffic engineer, and he went out and looked at the intersection. In order to install a traffic signal, there has to be very specific, what they call warrants met for different requirements. He did take a look, and it's his opinion that there aren't enough of the warrants that are being met in order to qualify it for a traffic signal at this time.
What does that mean?
It means there's a whole list of things, and I don't know them specifically, all of them. There are the number of accidents, there are the number of vehicles per hour on each leg, so not just like, say, 38th Street, but on Pacific, in both directions.
If you did a traffic study during regular business hours and with the school and the church, it's bad. I mean, I've seen accidents where they go right down the gully and they have to pull the cars out. And I know when Molino built above Pacific Avenue behind Our Lady of Peace, he did contribute money towards the traffic light because his concern was with the school and the church. And I'd like to know what happened to that money.
When the traffic contribution requests from the township were voluntary, we can't require them to do it, but some developers do, and Molino did give a contribution for a traffic signal there. It never did meet the warrants required to install one, so that money is held on to for up to 10 years. And then if no signal is installed, then the developer gets their money returned. They have to request the money and it's returned to them, but it's kept in a special fund.
Well, I understand that, but then, since then, they built more, there's more businesses up in that area. Now with another one being added there, it's like bad. I mean, it is bad. If anybody sat there during a regular business hour, like even 4:30, 5 o'clock, you can't get across. And usually, like the person going like east or north to south, like if you wanted to go straight or turn, you would take your turn, but that doesn't always happen. It's bad. It's very bad. And I'm just concerned about somebody getting killed at that intersection with the kids walking home from school.
Understood.
And the solicitor from the zoning meeting that we attended, she agreed that with one gentleman on the board, that it should have been a traffic study and the agreement of the businesses separate instead of on one agenda, and they kind of put that kibosh to that.
I wasn't at the meeting, so I'm not sure what transpired. I'm sorry.
And also, Mr. Prozan at that meeting, he was for it, totally for it. And he thought they should put a three-way stop sign, not even knowing that it's a four-way intersection. Because that's from 38th Street going to Grandview, going south, that's the only way to get up that way other than Zuck Road. Because even like Atlantic, Court Avenue, Brentwood, that there's no through street. Pacific is the through street. And that's the concern. So evidently it's a done deal, and we can't do anything about it.
Well, there's no mechanism in our ordinance to require a developer to give us a traffic signal contribution. They do have to meet whatever requirements there are in order to get their driveway permit. In this case, West 38th Street is a state route, so they talk to PennDOT, and PennDOT issues them what's called the highway occupancy permit to come in and out. As long as they provide that and their plan meets all of our ordinances, there's not much that we can do to deny it. There's no reason.
Well, when somebody gets killed there, maybe you'll think about it. I don't know what else to say. It's very concerning. I'm just one house down, and I see it all. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Matt, just so that I'm clear, is it PennDOT that has to do the study?
If a traffic signal is going to go in, yes, PennDOT would conduct the study. Then it would be on the township to finance and operate the signal after that point. They have to do the study and they have to approve the permit, but it's the township's responsibility.
So are you saying that the signal, that intersection doesn't meet PennDOT's
Criteria.
criteria?
What's
I
known
just
as
want to
a
make sure
warrant.
that's clear. It's not Millcreek's criteria that it doesn't meet, it's PennDOT's criteria it doesn't meet, I guess, for the study.
That's true.
That was my question, Matt. This subject came up probably 4 years ago to me from a resident that lives up in those Molino area, and my recollection was I contacted PennDOT. My recollection was that at some point they did do a study, but I don't have any written verification of that. Is that something we can check on, Matt?
I'm sure we can. I did speak to Jeff Tenney about it, and that was the information he gave me, but I don't have it myself, so I can double check with Jeff and see where that stands.
It's been 4 years ago. It's gotten progressively worse.
There's more business, there's another business.
And it's progressively got worse to go off 4 years ago is not telling. Like I said, they wanted the zoning person suggested putting a four-way stop sign. No, first it said three-way stop sign, not a specific one to Grandview. And it was, well, maybe a four-way stop sign. Could you imagine putting a four-way stop sign on that street and on 38th Street like that? That was the most hideous thing I ever heard at that zoning meeting.
Excuse me, ma'am, can you please provide us with your name and address so we have that for the record?
Lori Albert at 3303 Pacific Avenue.
Thank you. Matt, does this development outlet onto Pacific or 38th Street?
It solely outlets onto 38th Street. I think that was the question Mr. Bach asked. Right now, that piece of property does have some pavement that's in the plaza, but that's going to be removed. Oh, I'm sorry, that was Mr. Olet.
Right. Currently, Matt, aren't there two entrances and exits off of Pacific?
Into the plaza itself?
Yes.
Yes.
And are both of those going to remain open, or is the one further north going to be closed?
So this actually is away from Pacific. This is east along 38th Street, so it doesn't impact any of those driveways, other than it will no longer be connected to the plaza, so no cars from this development could go
Right.
out to Pacific. They would only come in and out off of 38th.
Okay, but there still will be
What's there now, yeah, is not being, right, is not being touched.
Matt, I apologize, it's my understanding that this development, with this development, they can come in and out from 38th Street, so they don't have to use Pacific, correct?
That's right,
Okay, all right, so Pacific is almost a separate concern then?
yes.
Okay, all right.
Okay, anybody else wishing to speak on the Deemer property? Okay, we'll close the hearing. Is there a motion to approve the land development plan?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mrs. Clear?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next item on the agenda is the Dollar General Land Development Plan to show the construction of a 10,640 square foot Dollar General store with associated parking and stormwater management facilities at the southwest intersection of West Ridge Road and McKee Road and Track 309, Index 414-005, 414-006. Matt.
Thank you. Yes, at the regular meeting of Tuesday, November 1st, 2022, the Millcreek Township Planning Commission recommended approval of this land development plan.
Okay. Is someone here representing Dollar General? Yes. You state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Supervisors. My name is Tim Zazula. I'm a lawyer at the Knox Law Firm here in Erie. The address is 120 West 10th Street, Erie, Pennsylvania, 16501. I'm here on behalf of my client, Westminster Development. Westminster Development is the developer of this Dollar General location, and we are seeking approval of a land development plan for a new Dollar General at 26th and McKee. As Mr. Waldinger just mentioned, the land development plan has been recommended for approval by the Planning Commission. We are seeking no variances or modifications from your restrictions. The plan complies in all material respects with your ordinances. The project will, of course, be serviced with public water and public sewer. Sidewalks are planned along West Ridge Road and McKee, as is required by your ordinance. Access, we were talking about access. Access to the site will be provided from West Ridge Road. And as is required, we went to PennDOT to seek a highway occupancy permit, and we were granted a highway occupancy permit from West Ridge Road into the development. And as you know, West Ridge Road at that location is 4 lanes, 2 in each direction, with a center turning lane. There's nothing further that's needed in terms of access, and like I said, we complied with the township ordinances in that regard. As far as stormwater, significantly, there will be 0 stormwater discharge from this development. All of the stormwater will be managed on site through infiltration. There'll be 2 basins, one above ground and one below ground. But this development will be a 0 discharge development, which I personally think is an amazing thing. They've figured out how to handle stormwater. The property is zoned properly. It's MU2 and retail use is permitted. And as I mentioned earlier, we meet all of the township requirements. The Planning Commission has endorsed this plan, and we're respectfully seeking your approval of the land development plan.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on the Dollar General development? Okay, we'll close the hearing. Is there a motion to approve this development plan?
Motion to approve?
I'll second.
Mr. Brock, how do you vote?
Vote yes.
Mrs. Clear?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next item is Resolution 2022-R53. Resolution for Millcreek Township to authorize application for an H2O PA grant in the amount of $1,879,488 from the Commonwealth Financing Authority to be used for the Kearsarge Force Main Replacement Project, and to appoint designees to execute all documents regarding the said grant. That would be authorizing the board chairman and Dave Wright. He's the project engineer for any signatory requirements. Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
Motion to approve the resolution for the H2O PA grant.
I'll second that.
Mr. Block, how do you vote?
Vote yes.
Mrs. Clear?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next item is a planning commission.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I just wanted to thank Dave Wright for all the work that he's done on this project. He's been working very closely with, on this H2O grant and trying to get this funding. So this is a big help for our budget to keep it where it is, right? Isn't that right, Mr. Treasurer?
Yes, that helps,
Yes. So thank you, Dave Wright. Okay, thanks, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Next item is a planning commission, zoning hearing board appointments. Matt, do you have anything further on that?
I have nothing new to report. I just want to reiterate that the township does have at least one opening on the Planning Commission and the Zoning Hearing Board at this time, and so we are seeking any interested residents. You are required to be a Millcreek Township resident in order to qualify for one of these boards, but if anyone is interested, please reach out to me through the Planning and Development Department and state your interest, and I'll give you direction from there.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Pardon me, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
There's, just so that I heard that correctly, there's one on the Planning Commission and then one on the zoning hearing, correct?
Yes, there's at least one opening on each.
At least one on each. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I was correct on that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Next item, we'll be revisiting the tax assessment appeal. Attorney Shaw?
Yes, thank you. There's a proposed settlement agreement between Penelec, the Millcreek Township School District, the Township, and the Erie County Board of Assessment Appeals in relation to a tax assessment appeal filed by Penelec relating to properties located at 5404 Evans Road that are owned by Penelec. The parties have reached a settlement or a proposed settlement on the property's assessed value of $3 million. This would result in no additional exchange of either credits or payments by either party for purposes of the settlement. My recommendation would be for the Board of Supervisors to approve the settlement and authorize McDonald, Jones, and Britton to execute the ultimate settlement agreement reflecting that settlement amount.
Okay, is there a motion?
Motion to approve the Penelec tax assessment appeal by McDonald Illig.
Second here.
Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
Vote yes.
Mrs. Clear?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Moving on to communications, Treasurer Communications, Mark?
Nothing further at this time.
Okay. All right, moving on to the Police Department, we have some position approvals.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The Police Department, Deputy Chief Carter Mook and Chief Height are looking to request approval for Corporal Kevin Guka, to receive a transfer from patrol to investigative services. Kevin is voluntarily accepting a reduction in rank to that of detective. This is to fill the vacancy in ISD due to the previous departure of Corporal Presner. They are also requesting the approval of the promotion of Patrolman Jacob Washek to that of Corporal in the patrol. Further, the Washek promotion is to fill the Guka vacancy in patrol. Last, approval is requested to promote Detective Mays to Corporal in the ISD. He has been serving and being paid as acting sergeant for some time now. The Mays promotion is a step to remedy that current situation. So it's kind of a chess game. So I am going to make a motion for those movements.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
Vote yes.
Mrs. Clear?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, next item on the agenda from our HR department. Okay, the recommendation of the termination of a Public Works employee, Ron Kennedy. Is there a motion to approve the termination of Ron Kennedy?
I'll make that motion, Dan.
And I'll second.
Okay. Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mrs. Clear?
Yes.
And I vote yes. HR has also recommended the termination of another employee from Public Works. That would be Dan Myazinski. Is there a motion to approve the termination of Mr. Myazinski?
I'll make a motion to approve the termination.
Is there a second? I will second that. Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote no.
Mrs. Clear?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Executive sessions were held on November 17th and the 28th to discuss various issues. Solicitor Communications, Mr. Shaw.
Nothing further on my end.
Thank you. Citizens to be heard. Anyone wishing to address the board this evening? Come on up.
Good evening. My name is Gary Bear, 4045 Tyler Drive. I have a small request. It's for next year. It happens to go along with our friends from Waste Management, and I was glad to see a little communication on the website about them being behind with all their problems. However, I called the customer service earlier, and they were confused because I said, well, they're supposed to pick up on a day for our calendar. And they said, no, it's the week. So that means that by week, I means it could be any day within that week. So I would have to put all my stuff out Monday morning. I didn't think that was accurate at all. I called him back again a little later on, and he had a different point of view. So I think there needs to be some guidance here on how they're going to do it, when they're going to do it, and if there's any changes. They said that our ordinance allows for transparent bags, but they said it only had to be in clear bags, white bags type things. I mean, no, that's not the ordinance. You know, which thing prevails? So I think we need a little bit more clarity there and some more ways to communicate to the people that if they're behind, that's great, because every year they're late. And every year I go incur expense to repair my lawn with those bags sitting out there waiting for them to show up. So it'd be nice if we could do that. I'm not complaining about it. They responded the other day when I called and said, hey, pick them up. They showed up and threw them in their truck. But the purpose of this is supposed to be for recycling of some sort, not just in with their general waste loads. So that's the conclusion of mine, is that we need some more communication, and perhaps they should give us more guidance as where they stand every day on that project, and so that we have no false expectations.
Thank you, Mr. Bear.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Dennis?
I guess question about the budget from earlier, I apologize. That new tax that they're proposing for the fire department,
Right.
is LECOM going to pay for it?
They, to the extent that the rate, basic rate is included in the pilot, yes, they will. Because they only pay 50% of their property taxes, but we do have an agreement, and it's based on whatever our millage rate is, and that's going to be considered part of the millage rate. So yes, they are going to pay 50% of it. It's better than nothing.
And I'll clarify that that's for the properties that are covered by the pilot. You know, they do have properties that are not exempt that would be fully subject to it.
I mean, I understand that they also bring in, you know, a lot of employees and taxes that way and other things, but there is it's a cliche, there's perception and then there's reality. And the perception for years, and Millcreek was guilty of this, is making fun of Erie for having so much nonprofit properties. Well, be careful what you say and wish, because LECOM, perception-wise, has gobbled up quite a bit of Millcreek Township, especially along Peach Street. And a lot of, I know my fellow neighbors are really frustrated with them because they're not the best of neighbors. And the perception is, you know, garbage went up, now taxes are going to go up, fire department's going up, and the perception is that they're not, you know, necessarily suffering or pulling along with us, just taking. And especially in my neighborhood, they've taken a lot. So I just want to make sure, you know, there's, like I said, perception and reality are two different things, and I get that they pay a lot of things other ways, but the perception is that they're not. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, I'll second.
Meeting's adjourned at 6:15.